Yes, it's that time of year again, where Diamine released their Inkvent calendar. This is actually my first, but I'm sure it won't be my last. We have a lot to get through, so I'll jump right into the first ink. Behind door number 1, we find Bliss, which is a standard ink. The side of each bottle lists if it is a shimmer, standard, or even scented ink. Bliss is a light blue ink. It actually does remind me of winter, and specifically how old video games would often represent ice blocks with this colour. It has very little shading and no sheen. Next up is day 2, where we find Yule Log. This is a shimmering ink, as you can see by the bottom of the bottle. A dark brown, fairly wet ink, with minimal shading and plenty of shimmer. For the third day of Christmas, we find Solar Storm, which is listed as a chameleon ink. Now, chameleon is a type of shimmer ink, but the shimmer effect is much brighter than standard shimmer inks. To me, I see it as a shimmer ink which also has a high sheen, with the colour changing depending on the angle. I would describe Solar Storm as a purple ink, with high blue shimmer and sheen. It actually lives up to its name quite nicely. It looks lovely once it's dry, a lot like the night sky filled with stars. Day number 4 we find Spruce, which I think is my favourite of the first 5 days, but I am always a sucker for teal inks. It is scented, however. I've never really had a scented ink before, but thankfully it isn't very strong. But it does remind me a bit of an air freshener, which isn't great. Thankfully the colour is wonderful, offering some shading and some lovely sheen. Day 5 and the last for this video is Spiced Apple. This was also a favourite of mine, as red shimmer inks have recently featured a bit on my channel. This actually reminds me a lot of Van Diemen's Red Lightning from my previous video. This is another chameleon ink, but I feel like it could really just be labelled as a shimmer ink. It doesn't have that stark colour difference we saw in Solar Storm. Regardless, it is a lovely saturated red ink with gold shimmer throughout. And that brings us to the end of days 1 through 5. We had some really diverse and strong inks in this bunch. I'm looking forward to seeing what other inks will come as we make our way through December. I will see you shortly for days 6 to 10. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and goodbye.